Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the groundbreaking Durban Climate Action Plan. My name is Gugu Jessica Ngubane. First and foremost, can we please rise and say our national anthem before we proceed? We apologize for the delays that we've had. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence as you are walking in. Please take your seats as we proceed to our national anthem. Ladies and gentlemen, can we say a prayer before we start? Father, we thank you that today we are alive. So many people, Lord, have lost their loved ones, but we thank you for the grace that today we are alive. We are able to be here to make game-changing and life-changing implementations. Without you, God, nothing is possible. We thank you for our lives, our roofs, and our daily breads, and the minds that you have given us, and the resources that you have given us to make these changes. Father, without you, we are nothing. We pray for your divinity. We pray for your wisdom. In Jesus' name, amen. Kwaze kwamnandi ukuba sendlini nabantu abahle. I'll speak in English and then I'll translate it in Zulu, but we are all beautiful in every sense, in all our minds and all our capacities. We are very, very powerful, and it is an honor and a privilege for me to be standing here amongst you and say, lashintsha izwe, lashintsha ngathi sawenza umehluko ezweni. For those who didn't understand that part, but this is a start of us going backwards but going forward, of us saving our earth for us to be able to live and habit in this earth. And this earth will be favorable to us if we are favorable to this earth. Before ngiqhubeke kakhulu, I'd like to pass over to Mam Councillor Weziwe Thusi, who is the Speaker of eThekwini Municipality. But as she comes up, I was reading her profile and I was amazed that it's the little things that make a big impact. Umam Weziwe is a mother of 3. She was a nurse at the beginning of her profession. Now she's been a member of the provincial legislature since 2001. She served as the chairperson on different portfolios and committees from 2004 to 2006 March, making changes, implementing good that will help us all. She was also appointed the MEC for Arts and Culture and Tourism from 2006 to 2019. She was also appointed in 2009, where she went on to Sports and Recreation, passing on this baton as far as going to social development. Ma ibongo zakho zinkulu, angeke ngaziqeda, but the work that you are doing, please keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jessica, our program director, our host mayor, Mr. Mxolisi Kaunda, eThekwini Municipality, Ms. Nomsa Dube-Ncube, MEC for Economic Development, Tourism, and Environmental Affairs, attending via video conferencing, Mayor Sowa Sifoti, Vice Chair, African Region and Mayor of Accra, Mayor Kaseti Sifoti, Chair and Mayor of Los Angeles, sent a letter to be read out during the webinar. Chairperson of Provincial Salga and Mayor of King Cetshwayo, Councillor N. Mkhulisi, Mayor of Cape Town, represented by Councillor Makliti, Mayor of Newcastle Municipality, Councillor N. Mahlaba, Mayor of Umsunduzi Municipality, Councillor M. Tibola, Acting Mayor of Kwadukuza Municipality, Councillor D. Govender, the Chief Whip eThekwini Municipality, Babu Sibongiseni Mkhize, the EXCO members and all councillors present, C4 Regional Director, Mr. Hastings Chikoko, and C40 representatives present, the business sector representatives present, Climate Change Committee members present, Eco Cluster Committee members present, Acting City Manager of eThekwini City Municipality, all DCMs, heads of units and officials present, the Durban Climate Change Task Team present, traditional leaders and traditional healers present with us here, members of the media, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is a distinct honor and privilege for me to welcome you all to the launch of our city's plan, which will help us prepare better in our efforts to address challenges of climate change. As the leadership of the city of Durban, we acknowledge that climate change is one of the biggest threats we face as a community of nations, and we can no longer afford to delay implementation of international agreements aimed at tackling this challenge. We understand the importance of moving with speed in addressing climate change because as a coastal city, Durban, along with many other cities, has seen an increase in the frequency of severe storms. As the Speaker of the municipality, I'm going to encourage all our councillors to pay more attention to issues of climate change at what level. It is common cause that communities, particularly in township and rural areas, bear the brunt of climate change disasters when they occur. Therefore, when our communities participate in the process of developing integrated development plans, issues of climate change must be prioritized. Climate change is a societal matter and requires collaboration among all stakeholders at various levels of our city. Therefore, as councillors, we must strengthen our educational drives involving schools, civil society, traditional leaders, and the interfaith to create awareness about the benefits of maintaining a clean environment. Our campaigns must also educate ordinary citizens about the economic benefits they can derive from getting involved in recycling programs and keeping our surroundings clean. This is particularly important because we need to reimagine the world post COVID 19. The pandemic has taught us that working together, we can be able to confront any challenge, including disasters associated to global warming. Research indicates that women and children are the most vulnerable to pandemic and disasters. Therefore, our programs must create an enabling environment for the most vulnerable to play a meaningful role and reap economic benefits from the opportunities presented by these challenges. With these few remarks, let me once again welcome you all and reiterate that as the city, we are committed in creating a resilient and clean environment. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Mam Weziwe. Just briefly, as I was doing research on the Climate Action Plan, with this little brief background that I have in tourism, we promoted Durban City. I'm a tourism baby. I'm proud of that. Ever since I started hustling, I've been a tourism baby. So I'm pro keeping our city clean. I understand the impact that it has, that we go out there and we market our city and we say people need to come through and enjoy our city and bring business into our city. But it's shameful when we must do a walking tour and you see a lot of dirt through the market, and you kind of feel like, no, okay, no, let's not go in there. But they want to go through. They want to see these traditional healers that we're talking about. They want to go and smell the mutis that these people, they want to interact with people. But it's like at home, you can't allow a guest to come in if your house is not clean. And it goes as far as impacting our water. The dirt that we throw going to the sea, going to the rivers, it pollutes our water. It makes the city's job cleaning this water to be twice as harder than it already is. So with that little background, I felt a lot of guilt because it said to me, I am part of the problem. The little things that we are doing and not acknowledging how far they are going, we are all part of the problem. Then I sat and said, what can I do differently? This is a question that applies to all of us in this room, to all of those also listening and connecting with us via the internet, that what can you do as an individual before we go as a group? Because it all starts with me. The city can invest, spend a lot of money. This notion yokuthi ulahla iphepha, umasipala uzoqasha umuntu ozoklina. Leyo mali could be doing something else, something more productive. We've got such a huge and beautiful infrastructure in KZN. And guys, your Shemetegwintin is powerful, guys. You're so powerful. I mean, the fact that we're the first to actually even do this, that says a lot. I mean, I'm proud. Can we please give Itegu just a little round of applause, because this is a huge step. It's a huge acknowledgement that we have taken and embarked to say, we are doing this. We are going to be the groundbreakers. We are going to implement this change. It's not an overnight thing, but it needs to start somewhere. Thank you, eThekwini Municipality. Ladies and gentlemen, moving on to our next item, we would like to cross over to Mayor Sowa. Mayor Sowa from the city of Accra, and who's also the vice chair of the Africa C40, to give us a message of support as we cross over to you, Mayor Sowa. Thank you.
for the launch, and Accra looks forward to join Durban soon in leading the way in having and implementing a 1.5 degrees Celsius compatible climate resilient action plan. Thank you, and may God bless us all.
Thank you so much, Mayor Sowa, for the encouraging message that you've embarked upon us. We would like to cross over to Mr. Hastings, who will be passing on a message from our mayor in Los Angeles. Mr. Hastings is a regional director for Africa in the C40. He serves on the advisory board for the Center of Cities in South Africa and is a member of the Global Future Council of the World Economic Forum in Switzerland. I will pause. I was also perplexed when I saw this profile. It made me feel like I haven't done a single thing in my life that has contributed towards giving back to Mother Nature. He clearly stated that the program director may not read the entire profile because I think he also saw that it's very heavy. You know, it makes you feel like, hey, who am I? And what have I done here? So before proceeding, Mr. Hastings Chikoko has done quite a lot that we acknowledge and appreciate in terms of making us acknowledge that we are responsible for this global warming that we are currently facing. We are also responsible of what implementations can be done to affect and reduce this global warming that we are facing. People are dying from these disasters, and we just hush it as, no, it's rain, it's Mother Nature, and we take no accountability towards it. Before I take a lot of time, can I cross over to Mr. Hastings Chikoko so he can relay the message that he has for us today? Thank you.
Director, for the gracious words. Let me recognize Mayor Kawunda, our host, and also who is the C40 Vice Chair for Africa. I also would like to recognize Mayor Sowa, who has just spoken, and the other C40 Vice Chair for Africa. Madam Speaker, I recognize you and also recognize the representation from SAGA and all the distinguished mayors present here. MEC Durban, I recognize you, and I also would like to just recognize all councillors and dignitaries on this, in this room and on this call. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my job this afternoon is very simple. I am to relay a special message to Mayor Kawunda and the Tikwini municipality from Mayor Eric Gassetti, who is the mayor of Los Angeles and also the chair of C40 Cities Climate Leadership Group. I was asked that I introduce Mayor Gassetti before I read his message. So I'll just quickly do that. Eric Gassetti is the current C40 chair and 42nd mayor of Los Angeles, first elected in 2013 and re-elected in 2017 by the widest margin in the history of Los Angeles. But most importantly for us, he's a sustainability and resilience champion. He rallied more than 400 mayors in cities across the United States to adopt the Paris Climate Agreement after the Trump administration pulled out of the pact. Mayor Gassetti is also a friend of Africa. His life has been shaped by a deep commitment to the core values of justice, dignity, and equality for all people. He has lived and worked in Africa, and he studied for a PhD in ethnicity and nationalism with a strong focus on ethnic conflict and nationalism in Africa, looking at post-conflict societies, including Ethiopia and Eritrea. Now allow me to read a special message to Mayor Kawunda and the Tikwini municipality, and I start reading. Mayor Kawunda, I would like to congratulate you on the launch of Durban's Deadline 2020 Climate Action Plan. As the first city in Africa to develop and adopt a climate action plan, you have set an example for others to follow, demonstrating tremendous leadership and a steadfast commitment to making sustainability and environmental justice core values in your administration's work. C40 is committed to supporting the implementation of your climate action plan, and I'm pleased to inform you that we are developing a targeted program focused on supporting African cities as they implement similar plans. As chair of C40, it is an honor to serve alongside you on the C40 steering committee together with Mayor Sowa. Your passion and perspective have been integral in our work to advance our vision of climate action. And I know that together we can help forge a greener future, strengthen public health, and create a more just society for our residents. In closing, I send my good wishes to you and your team in this difficult time when the world is addressing COVID-19. I've been briefed of the actions eThekwini is taking to safeguard the residents from the impact of this pandemic, and I commend your city for being proactive and relentless in this fight. Thank you so much, Eric Gassetti, C40 Chair and Mayor of Los Angeles, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chikoko. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to apologize. We omitted to acknowledge the Mayor of Johannesburg, Councillor Makubo, who is also present via webcast. Before we proceed, I would like to quickly cross over to Councillor Mkhulisi, who is the Mayor of King Cetshwayo District Municipality and the Chairperson of the SALGA in KZN. Crossing over to you, sir.
No, thank you very much, Program Director. And let me also take to consider greeting with all the protocols, particular
Ladies and gentlemen, can we please give our technical team a couple of seconds to try and get the audio back from our mayor from King Cetshwayo? gentlemen, sorry about that. Our mayor seems to be experiencing some load shedding on her side. So it's part of this greening effect, you know, the energy is strained. We are witnessing these implications of why this action plan has to be kickstarted ASAP. In the interim, we've got a video that we will play for our audience. As soon as I get the go-ahead from our technical team. May we proceed with the video? Thank you.
We have a climate emergency. When you look at the past 25 years, the extreme weather events, the frequency has actually increased. And this has affected many countries as well as many cities, and Durban is not immune. Durban is part of the cities in the global south that are experiencing extreme weather events. We are therefore delighted to see Durban taking a bold action by developing this climate action plan that is looking at how to make the city resilient and sustainable, but at the same time really factoring in the issues that are affecting African cities, issues of poverty, issues of inequality, and also issues of unemployment.
Durban is a coastal city with high levels of vulnerability, both environmental, social and economic vulnerabilities as a result of climate change. The city's climate action plan is addressing these vulnerabilities by adapting the city's current infrastructure to the growing environment threats of sea level rise and extreme weather events. And looking into the protection of natural spaces in urban systems, which act as carbon sinks, cooling systems, and protect the city from flooding.
Last year alone, we lost more than 50 lives because of floods, and we also lost about $500 million infrastructure through the floods that engulfed the city. We have recently also experienced some tremor within the city.
So the plan sets out an 80% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions, and we realize that the key areas that the city needs to focus on is the transport sector and the electricity sector. And to get that, we will achieve 70% of our overall ambitious target. The electricity sector needs to be transformed. We need to move from fossil fuel, coal-based, national centralized grids to more decentralized grids, looking at solar power, wind power, biodigesters, and also to explore our ocean energy.
Under the transport sector, we have identified more ambitious targets wherein there's going to be a major modal shift towards public transport as well as usage of electric vehicles. And this will result in more improved accessibility in terms of public transport as well as an improvement in local air quality. Waste management is another priority area for the city. To this extent, we have identified a number of interventions. Unlocking opportunities in the waste sector through recycling efforts, which should benefit local communities and to provide them with socio-economic benefits.
Our MILE, which is an institute of learning within the city of eThekwini, has been identified to be a developer of a documentation that documents this action plan and also the learning journey behind the development of the plan. We are very grateful that this plan is not only going to help C40 cities, but is also going to help a lot of other cities, towns, and local municipalities in the continent and over the world to ensure that they have their own mitigation plan against climate change.
This publication highlights some of the knowledge, experiences, challenges, and opportunities gained during this process. The publication also provides insightful information about resources and partnerships, role players, and timelines that will assist any city in compiling a climate action plan.
We need to bring on a whole range of stakeholders such as national government, provincial government, private sector, civil society, and communities at large to support the development of this plan, the implementation of the plan, and to ensure that we are protecting our communities and society.
We believe that the problem of climate change is a problem for all of us.
In Africa, there is a proverb that goes, if you want to go fast, walk alone. But if you want to go far, work together.
So we have to work together to ensure that the spirit, for example, that we have seen in the World Cup that is experienced by South Africa can be the same spirit that we can work together to mitigate the impact of climate change.
Ladies and gentlemen, whilst we wait for the Mayor of King Cetshwayo, we are ready. Thank you. We can cross over.
Welcome, ma'am.
The Mayor
It's
of
lovely
King
to see you again.
as she relays her message.
Can you speak for me just so that I can test your audio?
Hello.
I'm not sure if the generator's up to get the mayor through to us on our side. Can we cross over? Thank you, Mayor. You can proceed.
Good morning.
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you on our side. Thank you. Bese simzwile uma ukuthi siyazwana, sambona, waphinde wabaleka.
Hello.
Yebo ma, sisakhona silinda ukuzwa kuwena. Okay, we seem to be having a little bit of a technical glitch. But whilst we are having that technical glitch, I think maybe for purposes of impact and educating each other, whilst sisalinde umamumeya wase King Cetshwayo, for those who are watching us online, for those who don't know what global warming is, I think maybe if we took just 2 seconds, bridging that gap to try and inform each other so that we as individuals can also make a change gradually. But before we do that, we need to understand what global warming is. Global warming is the plus surge in our temperature in Earth. The industrialization that we're currently embarking on transports these greenhouse gases that we are emitting on a daily basis. They are creating a layer on our ozone layer in the atmosphere that in the long term, should it go up to 2 degrees Celsius, we will have a problem. As is, we've got these natural disasters that are on a very high increase. And if we take a step back and look at these disasters that we are saying they are disasters, I don't want to point fingers, but we are the cause. We are not nurturing what gave us life. So my 3-year-old will throw a paper out of the window, but if I don't make my 3-year-old understand that that paper came from a tree, that tree that we plant, which gives us oxygen, that is a nature. We've now cut down that tree, decreasing the oxygen level, and we've made paper, which we will print on and do other things. Now, we are going into an age where we say less paper, which will limit us cutting down these trees. Mother Nature needs us to love her back. That is why we've got this now, this temperature rising on our earth that is making these natural disasters on a more frequent basis. We've got tornadoes, we've got earthquakes, and all of these things, we can actually play an active role in trying to decrease this temperature rise. Ladies and gentlemen, you too can play a role in decreasing this constant rise of the temperature in our earth. Are we ready? Not yet. Right. We're ready for the video. Okay. Can we cross over to the councillor now and give her an opportunity to relay her message? Not yet. Okay.
Well, I think we've got a strong discourse around adaptation, and that's quite a new kid on the block, because if you think about it, even 15 years ago, the assumption was we could mitigate our way. Mitigate ambitiously early enough. The scale of the adaptation that we're now facing is far larger, far more comprehensive, and it speaks to the need to change some of the fundamental elements of society. So now we're talking about not only responding to change, but changing the socio-ecological elements of society so that we can deal with the enormous amount of adaptation that's required.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your patience as we go through these technical glitches. We would like to move on to our next item. Sicela ubaba wekhaya. Sisazomthula ubaba wekhaya. Kuba thina sizingane. Kubaba uMekhawunda. Briefly nje, just like to read his profile before we introduce him. Oh, okay. Bab Kawunda ngokukhulu ukuthuithoba uMeya uCetshwayo, she's back on, she's ready. Can we please give her those 3 minutes? Thank you.
Thank you very much. My apologies for the challenges we experienced due to load shedding. Program Director, allow me to acknowledge the presence of the MEC for Economic Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs, KwaZulu-Natal, Umama Unomusa Dube Ngubwe. And also let me take this opportunity to greet and appreciate the host, Mayor Wasetegwini, His Worship Councillor Kawunda, for convening us to this launch of Durban Climate Action Plan. I extend my greetings also to the mayors of Accra and Los Angeles, mayors, all of them that are present, or representatives, traditional leaders present as well, religious leaders of faith-based communities present here, and all stakeholders. I just want to make this quote from Desmond Tutu at some point when he said, I quote, 25 years ago, people could be excused for not knowing much or doing much about climate change. Today, we have no excuse. All of us, we have heard him clearly, and in response of that, that is why we have a program of action rolling out. To our global partners, C40, ICLEI, Covenant of Mayors, and European Union, SALCA began to work with you in the calls of the Conference of the Parties, notably in COP17, but even earlier, and the United Nations conventions. We wanted to get to a point where climate change is localized here, and we are now welcoming you in Durban, our metro. And all to our esteemed councillors, municipal mayors and public officials, all present leadership and panelists of CNBC Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, I greet you. We cannot bend our way to the future. We cannot pretend danger does not exist or dismiss it because it affects someone else. These were the words of former United Nations Secretary General, Ben Kuman. These words capture the essence of why we are here today. We're here to claim a sustainable future for the people of eThekwini and uphold eThekwini as it puts its shoulder to the wheel of global progress on climate change. It was in 2011 at the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change and Conference of the Parties where the Durban Adaptation Charter was launched. It goes without saying that we are extremely proud as SALCA that we have a metropolitan like eThekwini in our province. The outstanding leadership the city continuously demonstrates on climate change matters in the country, in the continent, as well as in the global arena, it is truly commendable. COP17 was a beacon of progress made thus far, from which we did not turn back, even when others, richer or more capacitated economies, stumbled in their commitments to fight climate change. South Africa did not. South African municipalities, with eThekwini at the lead, are ensuring that our country is put on the global map when it comes to taking visible steps towards mitigation and adaptation to climate change. The municipality of eThekwini has been offered solutions to both urban and rural development. Other municipalities have relied here in KwaZulu-Natal heavily on eThekwini's knowledge, on its wisdom and support in a number of climate change related matters. The Central KZN Climate Change Compact is just another example of how this municipality is of great significance to the development of our country. eThekwini municipality has been resourceful as well to the KZN governance structures. That is why SALCA, when we launched our Climate Change Compact of Mayors in 2018, and to the Office of the Premier, when they launched the KZN Provincial Climate Change and Sustainable Development summit, eThekwini was also critical. I wish to conclude by recognizing the difficulties that lies ahead as the city of Durban urbanizes more rapidly, escalating growth and the demand of energy, demand of housing, of water, of employment, of public transport, and other services and amenities, more especially because the city of eThekwini is home to thousands of people who move from rural areas and even other African countries. Rapid human migration is here to stay, but racial and gender inequality is not. We dare not forget the most vulnerable and the poor. I am confident that the city is up to the task of living out its vision of being Africa's most livable and most caring city. Program Director, this plan will require support from many stakeholders, practical and financial support, but it is worthy endeavor because, as an old native American proverb says, I quote, we do not inherit the earth from our ancestors. We borrow it from our children. I close quote. I thank you, Program Director, and all the guests and panelists.
Thank you so much, Mam Kulisi, for the inspiring words and those quotes that are just reviving this drive to say, guys, this is it. And it's a lot. I'm sitting and I'm listening, Guguti, as eThekwini municipality, there's this picture of Moses crossing the sea and him being at the forefront. It wasn't easy. Because should have the seeds closed, they would have hit him first. But to be a groundbreaker is a very, very big job. All these hazards and these challenges that you face along the path, they hit the leader first. And it is the leader that needs to know what to do next. This is a very, very serious inheritance that we are leaving for our children and the generations that will come. Because should we not know how to take care of Mother Nature will not know how to take care of us. It's a very, very big baton. It takes all of us to play an active role in daily lives and respecting what was given to us for it to respect us back. I'm going to give the platform to our keynote speaker, Ubab Kawunda. Ubab Kawunda is a distinguished comrade who started this war, because fighting challenges is not an easy thing. It's a war, and for you to come out of the war with scars and show this is where I was, you're a hero, because it says whatever is coming in the future you can handle, and you can also shield your followers in the back. This is where we are heading. If it hit me, I will protect you from it. I have learned that this stone bears this impact, but we will learn from it and we will grow. Ubab Kawunda, this journey, he started it at the age of 15. He was involved in student politics, and as a young political activism, he served in the hard days of violence. He's got a diploma in governance and leadership from the University of South Africa and an advanced governance and public leadership diploma from the University of Witwatersrand. He has served on numerous platforms, giving way from 2000 to 2006. He was the councillor in Inanda. 2006 to 2009, he was the proportional representative councillor in the eThekwini municipality and served on various portfolios such as Economic Development and Planning Subcommittee and Market Ad Hoc Committee. In 2004 to 2008, he was the provincial secretary of the ANC Youth League. 2010, he was the provincial chairperson. Ubaba's been moving up. He's been climbing this ladder. In 2012, he was elected as the ANC Provincial Executive Committee, PEC, where he was assigned the responsibility of serving in economic transformation as well as peace and stability in subcommittees. 2018, he was re-elected at the ANC PEC, and he served as the chairperson of the Economic Transformation Committee, which I'm sure was not a very easy job, because there was a lot of headway that needed to be done in those economic transformation committees. Because today, you see me, I'm a baby of these economic transformations. We would not be here if you had not led that path. Nani bo mamwezi nawe babu kansela lapha ya sesikwazi ukuthi sithi hello ngesingisi siphinde sithi sawubona ngesizulu siyiqhenye ngobuntu bethu nokuthi siphumaphi, because you guys led that path for us and you broke it through. There were a lot of challenges, but we are glad to see you in one piece and still fighting this battle. Ubab Kaunda, in 2016, he was appointed as the MEC for Transport, Community and Safety and Liaison. 2019, in the general election, he was reappointed to the same portfolio where he was deployed to eThekwini Metro as a mayor. In the Provincial Executive Council Cabinet, Ubab Kaunda chaired the Justice, Crime Prevention and Security Cluster, the Public Protest Subcommittee, where he also chaired the Multi-Party Political Intervention Committee, which is responsible for promoting political tolerance among the parties in the province. Last year, August 2019, he was the mayor of eThekwini municipality, thankfully. And then today, we are sitting with Ubab Kaunda as the mayor, and who is also the vice chairperson of the C40 African region, a network of 96 world cities actively engaged in the climate change initiatives. Bab Kaunda, siyabonga ba.
Thank you, Program Director, Ms. Ngubane Mbomvu. Our Honorable MEC for Economic Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs in our province, Honorable Nomusa Dube, Mayor Kaseti, the Chair of C40 and the Mayor of Los Angeles. In absentia, we also greet you, sir. Thank you very much, Chairperson, for your message, which is indeed inspiring. It gives us strength as we launch our climate action plan today. My co-chair in Africa, Mayor Sowa, who also made an input which really gave us more energy to say that we as Africa, we are indeed at work and ready to execute our responsibilities. Mayor Mkhulisi, the mayor of King Cetshwayo Municipality and the chairperson of SALGA in KwaZulu-Natal, and many other members of SALGA who are following us today. Colleagues, we have mayors from different municipalities of our country and in the province. We have Mayor Makubo from Johannesburg, the city of gold. We greet you, Honorable Mayor. We also greet mayors who are representing their municipalities today, who are also present with us. The Mayor of Kokstad, Mayor Councillor Peggy Ntolo, Mayor of Newcastle, Councillor Mahlaba, the Mayor of Msunduzi, Councillor Tebola, our neighbor, the acting Mayor of Duguza Municipality, Councillor Gavenda, the Speaker of our municipality, who has also spoken to welcome all of us today, Honorable Speaker, Councillor Tusi, our Chief Whip, who always whips us. He's been on me in terms of time as a whip, but we did apologize that we still had some technical glitches which did not allow us to start on time. The leadership, traditional leadership of our city, who are also present online, the religious sector, fraternity, the leaders who are there, the traditional healers who are also present, the senior administration of our municipality, led by the DCMs who are present today, the heads of departments, our director of C40 in the region in Africa, Mr. Hastings Chikoko, who also represented the Mayor Kaseti on his message, the business representatives, climate change committee members, honorable councillors of our municipality, members of ESCO who are following, ECOD Cluster Committee members, all our senior management, Durban Climate Change Task Team members, members of the media, distinguished guests, good afternoon. As the leadership of eThekwini Municipality, we are proud and honored to host this important gathering of the launch of the city's blueprint to mitigate the impact of climate change. Today's events demonstrates that we are a government that is conscious of the fact that we carry with us the hopes and dreams of our people, millions of our people, who want to see tangible actions and policies that promote sustainable development. Ladies and gentlemen, the action plan we are presenting to you today was adopted by the Council in 2019 to achieve the following objectives. Firstly, 40% reduction in emissions by 2030. By 2050, the city wants to achieve 80% reduction of emissions, implement smart electricity grid that enables bi-directional power flow and include large renewable energy sources, ensuring that 70% of electricity demand is supplied by self-generated renewable energy by 2050, transforming our transport system with the target of 50% of citizens using public transport by 2030. Expanding the network of electric buses and reduce private car trips by 50% by 2030. Expanding the network, achieving a 50% increase in locally produced food and reduce the volume of good quality leftover waste by 80%. Honorable guests, we are pleased to report that great progress has been achieved in these ambitious targets that we have set for ourselves, joining the world to adhere to all the signatories, as part of the signatories in the world, to ascertain that by 2050, we reduce the temperature by 1.5 degrees. To take the city to date, the city has implemented the following groundbreaking projects. The installation of solar panels in some of the buildings, Alford Road, Metropolis building, to ensure that we become the leading city in green energy, energy efficiency, and greenhouse gases mitigation in sub-Saharan Africa and the continent at large. The green roofs at Monte Naika Street, which reduces the temperatures of buildings and reducing stormwater runoffs. Compilation of greenhouse gas emissions inventory to ensure that to help plan climate change mitigation strategies within our municipality and to identify the sources of the greenhouse gas emissions from both the government and the private sector within our municipal area. Buffalo's Dry Reforestation Project, where a total of about 786,894 trees and other plants of over 106 species had been planted in 712.18 hectares of land. Oceans Champs program, which we are implementing jointly with the city of Bremen in Germany as part of the climate change partnership. The project seeks to contribute to the protection of the sea and reduction of pollution. Sihlanzimvelo project, which aims to protect our ecology infrastructure by cleaning of our rivers and streams to improve water flow and reductions. Recently, the city invested over 380 million rands to procure 150 new buses that emit the lowest carbon monoxide. The city has also created the Durban Metropolitan Open Spaces System to protect ecological access to high level and to ensure that all developments do adhere to the preservation of our environment. Ladies and gentlemen, some of these projects that are in the pipeline include hydrogen economy that will position eThekwini as a major exporter of energy production. Program Director has strived to meet the objectives of the African Agenda 2063. We need to realize that pathway cannot be achieved without effectively responding to the impacts of climate change. Therefore, Africa must have a clear agenda of inclusive social and economic transformation in order to position our continent as an important player in the global arena. Ladies and gentlemen, the Paris Agreement on climate change called for the global shift to limit temperature increase to 1.5 degrees. To achieve this, there must be a global shift towards carbon neutrality by 2050. Anchored on building resilience and being able to adapt to changing climates. Even countries and cities in global south will need to make significant changes if the ambitious objectives of this Paris Agreement are to be achieved by 2050. Colleagues, we are pleased that Durban, through our partnership with C40, has taken on the challenge to address the threats of climate change by developing a Paris-compatible climate action plan that will pave a way towards a climate resilience and carbon neutrality. This move by the city is of utmost importance given the uncertain times we live in today. The recent COVID-19 pandemic has demonstrated to us and the world the fragility of the relationship that exists between man and environment. Recently, our city experienced flooding and increased incidences of extreme weather events, leading to the destruction of critical infrastructure and the loss of many lives, and disruptions of economic activity at large. The changes we are experiencing with the extreme weather patterns require us to be adequately prepared to save lives and minimize economic damages. We must ensure that as we proceed our sustainability that we need to achieve, we need to act proactively with agency to drive systemic changes in our city. Ladies and gentlemen, the Durban Climate Action Plan sets out a pathway to reduce emissions with the long-term objectives to shift from a fossil fuel economy towards one that is sustainable and dependent on renewable energy sources. The transition will be done in an inclusive manner to ensure the protection of people's livelihoods and contribute towards the creation of jobs. Distinguished guests, as the city, we have prioritized bold, transformative actions in the electricity and transport sectors, while also aiming to promote affordable clean energy and transportation for the poor and previously disadvantaged communities. eThekwini, as a signatory of the Inclusive Climate Action Declaration, will ensure that we eradicate poverty and increase inclusiveness in its communities. We'll strive to create better job opportunities, higher living standards, and improve public and environmental health for all. Most importantly, Durban will strive for a just and equitable transition into a climate resilience future. Ladies and gentlemen, the climate change emergency needs us together in a single cloth as the global community, requiring us to act as a collective. For us to succeed, we must strengthen our collaboration efforts and consolidate partnerships and ensure that we form partnerships between all spheres of government and the society at large. This will go a long way towards facilitating the sharing of knowledge, experiences, as well as transfer of skills and expertise between government officials, the private and business sector, academia, and civil society. Colleagues, it is important to note that our plan recognizes that the city cannot achieve these targets alone and will rely on establishing strong social compacts between government, labor, academia, and civil society. There is growing civil awareness on climate change challenges, and we need to promote active citizenry by engaging our people with greater focus on women, children, people with disabilities, and military veterans, and all the vulnerable groups. Our educational campaigns must be geared towards establishing a healthy and safe environment for our citizens, in partnership with the private sector, which plays a significant role in working with the city to build a resilient and reduce emissions in our city. Ladies and gentlemen, working with businesses through the Durban Chamber of Commerce and other partners will also accelerate plans to address industrial pollution from heavy industries and large-scale manufacturers as they tend to emit large quantities of pollutants. As the Vice Chair of C40 Africa region, I will be working closely with my counterpart, Mayor Sowa of Accra, to mobilize other African cities to join this global movement of looking for solutions and formulating strategies to deal with climate change matters. In this regard, we'll be convening a webinar in Africa to mobilize cities to take their respective role in the fight and managing the issues of climate change. Because of the high levels of poverty and inequalities in the African continent, occasioned by colonialism, we are at a greater risk of suffering irreparable damage from some of the disasters associated with climate change. COVID-19 has exposed us deeply that there are still existing and persistent inequalities in our society, and our continent has been on the receiving end of this pandemic. As part of adjusting to the new normal, we must build a sustainable solidarity economies driven by cooperatives and social enterprises and anchored on the empowerment of vulnerable groups such as women, youth, people with disabilities, military veterans, and other vulnerable sectors. Mayor Sowa, we must build on the solid foundation laid by our visionary leaders such as Kwame Nkrumah, Nelson Mandela, and many others, to unite our cities behind the common goal of creating a better life for all African people. Ladies and gentlemen, clean, breathable air is a human right. There is no negotiation about that. This is also a constitutional mandate that we are given as municipalities. Durban is committed to protecting its citizens from devastating effects of air pollution. We strongly believe that air pollution and the climate crisis are inseparable. Therefore, we need swift, decisive, and collective action to help mitigate the harmful effects of air pollution on our health and the planet. To this end, Durban is among 34 international signatory cities that have signed the Clean Air Cities Declaration. Program Director, this climate action plan we are launching today is a clear demonstration of the willingness of cities, including those of Global South, to act swiftly while making use of the current scientific knowledge. As the city of eThekwini, we are proud to partner with other world cities as we seek solutions to address climate change, and we strongly believe in the principle of peer-to-peer learning as we move forward. For this reason, We commit ourselves in sharing knowledge and experience with other cities in the country and in our region. As part of our climate action plan, we have developed a learning journey with our Municipal Institute of Learning, the MILE. We hope to use the learning journey as a basis for ongoing exchange and knowledge sharing across the continent. Through this continuous engagement, we'll drive African innovation and solutions to address climate change in our environment. Ladies and gentlemen, we are glad that Africa is not watching on the sidelines, but the continent is actively involved in the global partnership to find long-lasting solutions to these challenges presented by climate change. The future we want is possible, and we have the ability and potential to achieve a transformative agenda together in our lifetime. Colleagues, our actions or lack of today will determine our future. The wonderful earth is our home. We do not have another option but to take care of it. Therefore, let us all put our shoulders into wheel and work in sync to ensure that this plan is successfully implemented. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to present this plan to our local and international community. Thank you for your listening. We wish you everything of the best. Durban is now open for business. I thank you.
Durban is a port city that is situated on the east coast of South Africa in the province of KwaZulu-Natal and is the largest city in the province and third most populous city in South Africa. It has seized opportunities to advance and embed the climate change agenda through the electricity crisis of 2008 that resulted in blackouts and the landmark successful hosting of the 17th United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, COP17, in 2011. This provided the city with a platform to promote adaptation at an international level, and the city co-organized a pioneering local government convention. This led to the Durban Adaptation Charter, the DAC, which commits local governments to climate action that will assist communities to respond to and cope with climate change risks. It has been signed by over 1,100 local government organizations globally. Climate change experts have worked tirelessly to embed climate into plans and policies and take advantage of opportunities that arose to advance the climate agenda in the city. This incremental approach to climate change resulted in eThekwini municipality recognizing the need for a strategic response to climate change policy and governance in the form of a citywide Durban climate change strategy in 2015. This has driven forward institutionalization of the climate change agenda and subsequent work to establish a governance framework with high-level political commitment to successfully implement not only a number of citywide climate change strategies and initiatives, but establish the institutional structures and technical teams to ensure that these are driven forward. Why a 1.5 degrees Celsius climate action plan? Climate change is no longer a future phenomenon. It is already upon us and affects us all. There is growing recognition that it is not only an environmental issue, but also an economic and social issue. The 2015 Paris Agreement clearly outlines the international commitment to limit the global average temperature rise to well below 2 degrees Celsius. The IPCC Special Report, global warming of 1.5 degrees Celsius, further indicates that we are already 1 degree Celsius warmer than pre-industrial levels, and while we will face major impacts with 1.5 degrees Celsius of warming, 2 degrees Celsius warming is significantly worse. With the support from C40, eThekwini Municipality has developed this climate action plan that builds on the 2015 Durban climate change strategy to address the need for rapid transformation. A 1.5 degrees Celsius climate action plan is a city-wide plan that provides a pathway to transition Durban towards climate resilience and carbon neutrality by 2050. The goal of the plan is to ramp up the ambition and action that is required to limit the temperature increase to 1.5 degrees Celsius. This is vital to avoid catastrophic impacts, especially facing our more vulnerable communities. The science is now clear that we need to limit temperature increase to 1.5 degrees Celsius to avoid severe climate impacts such as extremely high temperatures, more frequent floods, electricity blackouts, droughts, and food shortages. While the task at hand is titanic, there is hope. Limiting temperature increase is still possible, but will require a major global shift in raising ambition in line with 1.5 degrees Celsius. Bold, urgent climate change action can have immediate, tangible impacts on people's lives, from generating green jobs to creating happier lives and cleaner air and water. Everyone, including state and non-state actors such as cities and the private sector, needs to ramp up action now. The Durban 1.5 degrees Celsius Climate Action Plan comprises of 29 actions and 149 sub-actions aligned to 9 thematic areas that provide a pathway for Durban to achieve climate resilience and carbon neutrality. 3 key focus areas for emissions reductions are emissions from electricity consumption, including energy efficiency, transport, and industrial and other stationary energy. Durban's biggest climate risks are rising temperatures up to 1.6 degrees Celsius by 2050, more frequent droughts, 1 in 10-year dry periods expected to increase to 3 in 10 years, increased flooding, 1 in 10-year floods are expected to increase to 3 in 10 years, sea level rise, up to 1 meter above current levels. The list of criteria used for prioritization of actions to guide the selection of city climate actions were whether they significantly reduce greenhouse gases, significantly improved resilience, and a high return on investment socially and economically. With regards to energy, the city will develop a funding model for eThekwini Municipality that takes into account reduced income from electricity sales as a result of the shift to self-generation by customers. It will also develop an independent power producer support program to facilitate the diversification of the supply of energy pending legislation. Under transport, the city will continue to implement and expand the integrated rapid public transport network with a strong focus on transit-oriented development in line with the Built Environment Performance Plan targets. In addressing the issue of water and flooding, the city will support and develop ecological infrastructure that supports protection from climate change impacts. In addressing food security, we will also support local agriculture to protect citizens from rising food prices. In addressing waste and pollution, the city will expand existing infrastructure to enable scaling up of recycling in the city, including the establishment of waste parks, buyback centers, and drop-off centers. In the area of biodiversity, the city is to identify priority biodiversity areas for conservation that has climate change benefits. Regarding health, the city will develop and implement a heat mitigation strategy. And in addressing vulnerable communities, the city will facilitate the transition of informal settlements towards climate change resilience. Sisonke, together we can. eThekwini Municipality contributes only 6% of Durban's community-wide GHG emissions. A pathway towards becoming a carbon neutral and resilient city by 2050 requires the city to engage and partner with a range of stakeholders through a number of initiatives with a focus on sustainability. Hence, the city is driving the following initiatives and partnerships. Private sector collaboration. The city's 2016 GHG inventory and the GHG emission scenarios show that industrial and commercial emissions account for 52% of citywide emissions. At the same time, many companies that have head offices and/or operations in the city have set ambitious GHG reduction targets and have implemented a range of innovative solutions to mitigate GHG emissions. Therefore, to achieve carbon neutrality, engagement and partnerships with the private sector is critical. Active citizen participation. The municipality has partnered with the Department of Science and Technology and National Research Foundation Center in Indigenous Knowledge Systems to use an IKS approach to engage Durban citizens on climate change. Establish a green training center. Transforming the city to align with the 1.5 degrees Celsius pathway will require new skills. We cannot mitigate or adapt to what we do not understand. Identifying and building the necessary skills is essential. One way to promote this at the local level is through lifelong learning programs that impart new knowledge, skills, and attitudes to learners. The city, over the medium to long term, will establish a green training center to provide low and unskilled citizens with skills needed in a low-carbon society. Now is the time to act. Our actions today determine our future.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't transformed, I don't know what will make you transform. I'm born again. Just by reading and listening to this video, I am pro-green today. It all starts with us, ladies and gentlemen. It's how we leave this room with the knowledge that has been imparted upon us, with the responsibility that has been imparted on us to make our tomorrow a success. Without us doing these effective changes now, there will be no tomorrow. Without further ado, can we kindly cross over to the MEC and Durban, but unfortunately she's got Mrs. Pumelele Noelle, who is, she's coming on board, yes. Ms. Noelle, would you please? May we please cross over to MEC Durban. Thank you.
Thank you, Program Director, Ms. Gugungubane. I do wish to acknowledge you and acknowledge the Speaker of eThekwini Municipality, Mrs. Tusi. I do wish to also acknowledge the Mayor of eThekwini Municipality, the host Mayor, Mayor Kaunda. I do wish to also acknowledge Mayor Sowa, the C40 Vice Chair of the African Region, Mayor of Accra, the Chair of the Mayor and the Mayor of Los Angeles, Mayor Cassetti, also Mayor Chikoko, who also gave the message on behalf of the Chair. I do wish to acknowledge you, sir. The Chairperson of SALGA, Mayor Kulisi. I do wish to acknowledge all the leadership of SALGA and all the mayors that are joining all over the country and also here in the province of KwaZulu-Natal and also around the world, all the leadership of the C40 in the region and also internationally, and all the representatives in business sector as well as in the climate change community. It should be remembered, ladies and gentlemen, also I wish to acknowledge the members of the media. Ladies and gentlemen, it should be remembered that we took part in the COP17 years ago, and we were clear on our plan of action, and something that amazed the international observers. Many people across the world had predicted that Durban would be the place of death and the burial for the Kyoto Protocol at the time. But because our preparedness and our collective effort, we made it despite all the odds, and we pulled it as a province and as the country. And today, yet again, there's another milestone that we are celebrating through the leadership of Mayor Kaunda. Today, ladies and gentlemen, Durban is being remembered as a world landmark for the decisive action that a global giant leap was taken from Cancun into a positive future for the mankind. In actual fact, we need to be proud of the fact that COP17 laid a firm groundwork for the historic climate change Paris Agreement in 2015. The cities are the most important economic, geographic, and administrative entities in today's world. Their prevalence, as well as the opportunities that are provided, the risks that they present, will also intensify with the coming decades as people migrate and as we see the urbanization that brings with it the opportunities as well as the risks, as many people migrate and end up sometimes in informal settlements without jobs and without any planned formal settlements, which further exacerbate poverty. But more importantly, for our cities, it presents challenges for them to respond to these contradictions. Today, we are seeing cities also being in the forefront of responding to the COVID-19 pandemic. The pandemic has again further tested the resilience of our cities and the sustainability and the means of our cities to ensure that our municipal infrastructure is the one that is sustainable and is the one that is able to withstand the test of time. The launch today is therefore a historic, and it is an indication that a eThekwini municipality take matters of climate change seriously. We wish to congratulate Mayor Kaunda and your entire team involved in this important work. Program Director, it should be remembered that KwaZulu-Natal municipalities have experienced a number of extreme weather events in the past 5 years, ranging from droughts to the heat wave to extreme weather patterns, bringing severe lightning, flooding, and Durban was not immune to all these challenges that I'm mentioning. The people of eThekwini municipality are still recovering from the devastating effects of storms that swept eThekwini municipality in October 2017 and in April last year. And this devastation caused by many floods will take many, many years even for many people to forget, especially as eThekwini lost many lives during these storms. And I know that the city is still trying to rebuild from these storms that ravaged the city during that particular time. Added to that, we have been warned of possible climate change effects like the rise in the sea levels and the temperature increases, and all of which will affect our residents. Program Director, we have no doubt that this plan that we've just seen today, the Mayor unveiling, will help reduce the vulnerability across our city, especially amongst the poorest of the poor, because in many instances, they bear the brunt of the climate change. It will help drive the Durban's development along a low carbon and a resilient pathway as detailed in this newly adopted deadline 2020. The 1.5 Climate Action Plan. If we look at the air pollution and the COVID-19 Program Director, I wish to draw this as I draw to my conclusion in my short remarks, that today's time is calling for a leadership at the municipal level, a leadership that will be agile, a leadership that is going to be committed to take the responsibility, a leadership that will be committed to ensuring that we do everything to mitigate against the impact of the climate change amongst our people. I also wish to reiterate our commitment as the provincial government towards working with all the stakeholders and eThekwini municipality in particular to dealing with the issues of air pollution. As we all know that there are debates that are taking place in various platforms regarding the air pollution that are caused by the COVID-19. There is a research which has shown that long-term exposure to the pollutants such as the fine particulate matter, often called the MP2.5, as these are particles smaller than 2.5 microcentimeters, the nitrogen dioxide and the sulfur dioxide can reduce the lung function and cause many respiratory illnesses. These pollutants have also shown to cause a persistent inflammatory respiratory response, even in the relatively young, and to increase the risk of infection by viruses that target the respiratory tract. The pathogens that causes COVID-19 or SARS-CoV-2 is one such viruses. So several studies have also suggested that the poor air quality can also leave people at the greater risk of contracting the viruses and at greater risk of serious illnesses. So this is the area that we also need to attend to, ladies and gentlemen. We wish to assure the people of eThekwini municipality, because we know that the leadership of the Mayor Kaunda, as well as his team, of all the environmentalists, that from the department, we will continue to work with eThekwini municipalities and all the NGOs to deal with the air pollution and with all other pollutants within our cities and our province. As we move forward, our efforts will also focus in ensuring that private sector and all spheres of government commit and work together to improve air quality. We must step up our efforts that are aimed at cutting emissions and cleaning up the air to communities, especially within our South Durban Basin. We undertake to take with industries, communities around the southern areas and the whole of the South Durban Basin to find a long-lasting solution to the pollution around those communities, because the area has the largest concentration of chemical industries. We do believe, ladies and gentlemen, that with the leadership of the mayor, having visited the area himself, that there is an urgent need to form partnerships with an aim of protecting our environment, whilst at the same time, we must create a healthy nation that is capable for sustaining the economic growth. Emissions as a result of sugarcane burning, the forest, the veld fires remain a concern. Although these are seasonal, we also need to focus on all these pollutants. I often cite Section 24 of our South African Constitution, which clearly states that everyone has the right to an environment that is not harmful to their health and well-being, and to have an environment protected to the benefit to present the future generation through reasonable legislative and other measures that prevent pollution. I wish to report that a comprehensive air quality strategy is being developed and the completion is expected around October, and the department is moving swiftly to fill the vacancies to ensure that we work collectively as spheres of government to ensure that the issues of environment are put at the center of our service delivery. These include the issues of dealing with the climate change, the EIAs, the pollution and waste management, amongst others. Ladies and gentlemen, once more, we are very excited to be part of this launch, and we wish to hold hands with all the C40 family and to ensure that we all fight against the pollutants, that we all fight climate change across the province and across the spheres of government. The sharing of resources, the integration of our plans provides the mechanism to upscale the climate change responses beyond the boundaries of individual municipalities. Acting with ensuring that we are able to effectively adapt and mitigate against the climate change that threatens the well-being of our people as well as those of our globe and of our society. We wish the municipality of eThekwini, as well as the C40 mayors, all of the best as we tread towards a clean communities, sustainable cities, and resilient municipality, as well as resilient cities. We can overcome all these contradictions if we work together to preserve and to ensure that this world and this climate, as well as this future that we are inheriting for the future of our well-being, but also for the future of those that will come after us. They will look at us and marvel at the work that we are seeing today being led by the leadership of the Mayor Kaunda. And once more, congratulations for being a trailblazer, Mayor Kaunda and your team. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mam Dube, such powerful words. We would like to officially launch the plan. My honorable dignitaries will have risen and come forward, and we would like to show you this marvelous plan. For me, it feels like it's a Bible for the future. It's a Bible to apologize for our mistakes, and it's a way forward for us to ensure that the future generation has an earth to live in. How besicela niyehlise imask. Besicela ukunibona. Whilst they are taking photos, we would like to ask Ubaba Philip Stole, the Deputy City Manager of Economic Development Cluster, to come forward and give us a vote of thanks for this groundbreaking day. I'm perplexed. Babu Stole, I'm pretty sure now you've got quite a lot from the tourism background and the cluster to say, this is a big thumbs up. We need to be doing something about this. It's an honor to be part of this. Thank you so much, Babu Stole.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and I would like to greet the mayor, the speaker of the municipality, and the chief whip, members of the media present, and colleagues. Mine is to do a vote of thanks, which was supposed to be done by the city manager, who couldn't be here, and requested me as the deputy city manager to do a vote of thanks. So I would like to thank you, program director, for the work well done in running the proceedings, the MEC for Economic Development for his message of support, for her message of support, eThekwini Mayor, who is the champion and the face of the climate change action plan. So we thank you, Bob Mayor, for the leadership that you have provided up to the production and the launch of this action, of this climate action plan. We thank the chief whip and the speaker. I know they've been with the mayor since the morning, visiting sites and also coming here to actually do this particular launch. And we also like to thank the C40, the chairs of C40 cities and mayors, and the mayor of Los Angeles, Mr. Mayor Eric Cassetti, Vice Chancellor of Africa C40 cities, Mayor of Accra, Mr. Mohamed Sowa, Chairperson of portfolio committees within the municipalities, within eThekwini municipality, traditional leadership, councillors, business sector, interfaith, and traditional healers. I think it's very important to mention traditional healers. We thank them for being part of this, and we hope we'll work with them in ensuring that we protect our environment. Well, I think the work that was done, it was a partnership with various stakeholders. It's an integrated effort by all units and clusters within the municipality. Then I think it will be proper again to thank all deputy city managers and heads responsible for the implementation of this particular plan. And we must also thank the work that has been done by the team, the team of officials. If I can just mention their names here, those that I can remember. Unfortunately, they're from my cluster. I can't talk about others, but I would like to thank even those that are not within the cluster. Just, it happened that I see some of cluster representatives here. Ulihle Phewa as the head of development and planning for the work that he has done in coordinating the team. Maybe it's also proper that I must take this opportunity, but Mayor, to thank the former head, Umusampele, who was responsible in running with the program. I know he's not here, but we thank him for the excellent work he did before he became the COO of eThekwini, and then Ulihle took over to work on the program. And would like to thank Uchumisa for her sterling work, working with Uzama from the cluster. And then Uzama must be thanked because he has been with the program from the initial stages up until now. So she has become an expert when it comes to this particular field. I'm sure if there was no COVID, he would have traveled maybe 2 or 3 times this year. This kind of work, it requires them to go to all sorts of places to learn more about the work. So, in short, we would like to thank everyone, involved and everyone responsible. And I know that the leadership is rushing to a 2 o'clock meeting, which is, it's now 25 past 2. So thank you very much, Bob Mayor. We are here to work with you and the leadership. Uthe ulihle ngisho ukuthi phezu komkhono. Kuyasetshenzwa, siyabonga.
Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to bid farewell to the mayor and his team, as we would like to give way to the technical experts for question and answer session that we have following this. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for the groundworking work that you've done with your team. We are privileged and we are honored to be at this forefront of this climate action plan. Thank you so much. May we please rise and bid farewell to our dignitaries.
Good afternoon, everyone. Greetings, all protocol observed. As we move towards the end of our program, I would like to introduce to you the brains behind this work. We have a climate action plan today because we have key experts that have been driving it from the beginning to the end. I know that Mr. Stolle has mentioned some of us, we are just some of the pieces of, in the puzzle, but we are not the people that developed the plan. So we would like to call forward now our climate change mitigations manager, Ms. Itumeleng Masinya, who has been one of the key people that were leading this work together with one of our climate protection scientists, Ms. Nongebo Hlongwa, who worked tirelessly with our technical advisor from C40, Ms. Zarena Mula, who could not be here with us physically. And with them, we will be welcoming Ms. Siphumelele Nowele, who has been graciously sent to us by the Office of the MEC, who is the Chief Director responsible for the Environment and Climate Change portfolio and the province. So this is just going to be a short session where you get to know the technical details around the plan before we wrap up our program. Thank you, everyone. Colleagues, over to you. My name is Kumisa Tengwa. I don't matter much, but yes, I would like to present to you the climate action plan team together with Ms. Siphumelele Nowele from the MEC's office. Thank you. Okay, welcome team. Please make sure that you have a sanitized mic close to you, because I'm going to be firing off a couple of questions to the experts here. Are we ready? I think for this session, and because we are observing social distancing, while you speak, you are allowed to remove your mask, and then we can see your lipstick. Okay, here we go. So, climate change action is a multidisciplinary intervention involving many actors. How has this journey been for you as experts that have been responsible for the development of the plan? I'm posing this question to both Ms. Masenya and Ms. Hlongwa. So please, you can take a minute each to just tell us quickly how this journey has been for you. Let's start with you, Ms. Masenya.
Hi, am I audible? Okay. Afternoon, colleagues, and I'm not sure if we're still live. Are we? Yeah. Nevertheless, the journey has been remarkable, challenging, quite a learning curve. Not only developing, the actions, but I suppose the journey for us, especially being a pilot city, started right from the beginning, the conceptualizing of the program itself, and the launching of the C40, a 1.5 program. And the debates were so robust. There's been all sorts of, ideas, starting from the naming of the program itself, to say was obviously the objective is to make it what Paris compatible, and indeed by then I will recall that the objective was to reduce the temperatures to 2 degrees, and obviously subsequent to that we had the latest report to say indeed we must actually be striving for 1.5. So to that extent, and if we look at the latest sort of title of the program itself, it talks to the inclusive component of it, and which came about because of those debates to say, of course, we have this selected, 7, 8 cities, but would know that obviously, the cities, we have around 70% of the population globally living in the cities. There are, in terms of the electricity usage, the nodes, you have the urban sprawl, you have this migration globally. It's not just a South African phenomenon. So going in there from the global south, we had all the odds, stacked against us to say that you are this one city in the entire global south, representing all these cities, right from Cape Town all the way to Accra. To what extent do you make your, participation in this fold, with all these European countries there, without really being seen as being made a favor, but making sure that you accommodate and you represent everyone out there. So it started there to say that, of course, we need to be bold. All these actions, they need to be ambitious, because you recall that this came about after the country cities, of course, had made submissions of their NDCs, which would know that it was felt that they were not ambitious enough. So we needed to close those gaps. The process has been evolving. The process has been quite remarkable from one sector in the city to all our stakeholders. But we must say, and this is what we've shared with our colleagues throughout, that we know, climate change
it's scientific, but at the same time, there's this element of it, of being, you know, about activism, taking your stakeholders along. So that's what we've been striving for all along. Thanks.
Thank you, Itumeleng. Now, I will summarize afterwards. I know we're running out of time. Nongcebo, from your perspective, tell us briefly what the journey has been like.
Thank you so much, Sister Misa, for the question, and thank you, Itumeleng, for making that initial sort of input. But from our side, it's been an amazing experience. It has basically solidified or galvanized the work that began in the city in 2004, and has basically shown that the journey for eThekwini municipality to be one that is progressive, one that is within its time, one that is willing to take risks, especially in terms of the way that we have been supported by our political leadership in establishing a governance system that has basically assisted us in acknowledging the importance of this plan and of the work that we are doing. I mean, without the leadership that we had received, we wouldn't be here today. We wouldn't actually have this plan that has been basically adopted by the municipality at a council level, where they're recognizing that there's a need for us to implement, and there's a need for us to take action swiftly and make those decisions and incorporated and mainstreamed within all sectors within the municipality. I think that's been my biggest sort of takeaway, in the fact that our leadership, not only from political but also from administratively, have been with us, holding our hand and showing us that there's strength in partnership, there's strength in numbers, and we can actually get this done and get it sort of adopted and accepted at all levels and by all stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you, Nongcebo. Thank you, Itumeleng. That just gives us a glimpse to, you know, some of the nitty-gritties of what was done and how involved and complicated it has been. I think now I'm going to pose a question to Ms. Siphumelele Nowele. From your perspective, we would like to know how is the provincial and national government going to support the implementation of this plan, which is a plan by local government. Can you tell us a bit about any support that will be available?
Thank you, Program Director. And then in the words of Honorable MEC, we would like to once again congratulate eThekwini Metro for this great milestone and for being a leader in the whole continent of Africa in terms of climate change response. From a provincial perspective, there's a couple of places perhaps that would like to indicate. First, from a climate change response, in line with the policy, the national policy that we have, which is the climate change response strategy. The province has got its own climate change response strategy that focuses on 8 priority areas. And we are also pleased that in terms of the priority areas that are mentioned here in the eThekwini plan and outlined here in the summary, there is a lot of correlation between what we understood to be the priority areas from a provincial perspective and what is also understood to be the priority areas in the metro. So for those priority areas, we are driving a process where we are getting support from the provincial sector governments that are leading those, like your transport and all of that. The climate change response strategy outlines what it is that has to be done by those key departments. And working with eThekwini, there is an opportunity there for some kind of support and flow of resources as those priority areas actually coincide with those that we have in terms of the provincial strategy. But also another very exciting program that we are running at the moment, we are developing the greenhouse gas inventory as a province. It's the first of its kind. We are working with our international partner, the Climate Group. We are almost at the end of that. The project is meant to be completed by March next year. This actually means that from a provincial perspective, for the first time, we are going to know with certainty where exactly our emissions are coming from, and we're going to be having exact quantification of those emissions. This then forms an important baseline for us to develop an MRV process, and we are going to be definitely linking up with the eThekwini, which is the biggest municipality, of course. And we've read in the document as well that they've already quantified their GHG emissions sources. So working together with the Metro, we believe that we are going to come up with more realistic mitigation strategies, at least that are well informed by science. And the contribution of eThekwini Metro in this work, this development of the GHG inventory is also acknowledged as the biggest municipality. We have been working together with them in that process. And as we draw towards the conclusion, we believe that it's going to be an important journey for us. We do have, as a province, other two critical areas of work, which is under planning as well as environmental education. And the other projects that have been mentioned, some are supported by the municipality, by C40 and so on. Our officials that are responsible for environmental empowerment, that are working with communities, will continue to work with the city in reaching the communities and coming up with this inclusive plan towards responding to climate change. From our national government, there are other projects also that are very important. We also work with our national counterpart in terms of that. I'll just mention one, just a couple. The city's Resilient Forum has been a forum that has been around for quite some time. Its plan or its objectives is to build capacities for metros, is to promote collaboration in certain projects. So eThekwini is one of the municipalities that joined that forum, and they've been actively involved in that. We will continue to be working through that platform to support the city of eThekwini. There is another broader program, the local government support program, that is also driven by national together with the province as well. It's also important, even though it's focusing on other smaller municipalities, but as we are drawing towards phase 4 of that project, I think it's going to be very relevant for the Metro, in that we are now getting to a place where we're going to be assisting municipalities in packaging bankable projects that can be funded in terms of responding to climate change. Would also like to extend that invitation to the Metro to say that maybe through that platform and through this particular phase, there is quite a lot that could be accessed or that could be helpful for the municipality in terms of enhancing the implementation of this newly launched climate action plan. And the Climate Resilience Indicator Framework, again, is another new project that we are working towards. This one, we are saying that in the municipal performance framework as driven by National Treasury, there is what is called Circular 88, which recognizes the most important performance areas for cities. For a very long time, we didn't have climate change specifically mentioned there. And we are working towards doing that so that there is a recognition for all the efforts that municipalities, the metros in particular, are doing in terms of the performance management framework that we have in the country. So we believe that metros such as eThekwini will get the due recognition through the changes that we are trying to effect in that area. And lastly, I need to mention that there is a climate change compact that we have in the province, and the metro has been very, very pivotal in terms of the driving of that compact. Its main purpose really is to be a learning platform, an information sharing and learning platform for municipalities. The other smaller municipalities that have hugely benefit from that compact, some of them have gained recognition in terms of the Global Climate Change Mayoral Covenant. We see that platform continuing to play an important role, especially as we're going to be learning as we implement this plan. There's a lot that's going to be learned that can be used by all municipalities in the province. So, Program Director, those are the areas that we have seen as very important in terms of us collaborating with the Metro in taking this process forward. And thank you very much, and congratulations again.
Thank you so much from the Chief Director. Do you want to give them a round of applause before? Yes, it's a very comforting to know that our ambitious plan is actually in line with what is being done at a provincial and a national level. I mean, there are areas of some things that we can leverage on in terms of implementing the plan going forward. Before I hand over to the program director here, I have one last question to our climate change experts here, both mitigation and adaptation. Well, we know now that we are in the middle of a pandemic, and most of our financial resources as a municipality have had to be directed towards fighting this pandemic. The plan that has been outlined here, it needs some dollars to it. So tell us about what support, both financial and technical, is available for climate action globally, both from the adaptation side and from the mitigation side. Just briefly before I hand over to the program director.
I suppose with climate change, it's always about being strategic, always about, as we've said, especially with the history of climate change in the city. We are where we are, and these are the learnings that we always share with our colleagues in the other cities at all times, that be opportunistic as much as possible, seize the opportunities, when they are available, and where possible, create them. So much as, of course, you'd all wish, to have this ideal state where we have abundance of climate change. And you would recall that, the history of climate change, we just recently, and hoping that, of course, with the promulgation of the climate change bill, climate change to an extent will be funded and all that. I mean, to date, it's been one of those unfunded mandates, and we know the struggles so far, but we've been forging ahead, But to an extent, there's been some relief, and with the the founders of climate change in the city, Dr. Deborah Roberts, the fights that she's been staging on the international arena around, galvanizing some support to, secure some funding for adaptation work. We've been more on an advantageous side from the mitigation perspective, but it can never be enough. It can never be enough I mean, we talk about the decentralizing of, the energy network, would know to what extent, the electricity sales are a cash cow of our cities. And we know what is at stake. And obviously we need to mitigate and come up with some innovative, ideas to say, how do we, counterfund, those whatever losses. But the reality is that there are losses anyway, that we're already enduring. So in terms of financing, because like developing this plan on its own, it's all good and everything, and we can always put it there on the shelves and have it, gathering dust. And as we always say that, indeed, the greater work is post this, would be very, naive and narrow-minded, and if we think that everything is all hunky-dory now, we're done and everything. Indeed, the mammoth task is starting, and we've been quite aware of that to say where to. But to that extent, of course, the investors, potential funders, and financiers out there are aware of that. And whilst we were developing this plan, of course, we started thinking about the post-Durban 1.5 plan to say, what now? How do we get it started? How do we get the work to be implemented? Where are the opportunities? How do we unlock those opportunities? And as we're thinking and debating about this, COVID happened. And as you've just said, we know in the national fiscus, all the fiscus has been redirected towards fighting the pandemic. And indeed, it is a reality. We cannot say, of course, wanting to be all fighting for these scarce and limited resources. So there are a lot of funders out there, but as we know that with climate change, it's cross-cutting, it's about developing those, and even being, as a scientist, as engineers and everything, over and above those skills, core skills that you need, you also over and above that, it's always evolving. Acquire those skills, because you can't expect someone out there to identify opportunities, even those funding opportunities for you. Whilst you are this core scientist, but you need to find a way and develop ways of knowing how to unlock those funding mechanisms out there. So we've been fighting, it's been that evolving work, and there has been a consortium that has been set up, made up of a lot of these funding mechanisms in this kind of work by the likes of your Italy, who they might not probably contributing that much, but they understand, as to what it takes to put a bankable, because that's another thing, just applying for funding. But it needs to be a bankable project that makes sense to an investor. To say that, of course, we're comforted, we like that. But to an investor, it's about the bottom line. Is this putting my money out there? Is it going to make money for me? So you need to be creative. You need to identify those, to be innovative and creative, but be opportunistic. So we're working towards identifying that. And as one of the speakers said earlier on, you need to be agile at all times, be quick, We can't overemphasize that. Always put your ears and eyes out there and open. Yeah, I think that's the long and the short of it. Thanks, bye.
Thank you, Itumeleng. Any last words from you, Nongcebo?
Just to add to what Itumeleng has said, I think one of the biggest points of leverage that the city has made use of is partnerships, and with partners such as Italy, with partners such as C40, with partners such as GRZ, we actually have been able to produce a lot of the work that we've done currently. But on the end of developing or allowing for funding to be available, I think the city is, since its adoption of the Climate Action Plan, has identified the need for allocating funding towards this work. But the one thing that is most important is not just for the climate change team to be the ones that are allocating these fundings, but it's about a cross-sectoral engagement of identifying points of leverage that we can implement action that is in line with delivering the service deliverables that they are required, but also responding to climate change issues in the midst. So as Itumeleng has said, it's about being strategic. It's about identifying those strategic partnerships that you can leverage in delivering your needs, but also working together with the respective sectors, with respective spheres of governance in implementing what is required, but also identifying those opportunities to add that climate change cap on and basically make that more resilient and more sustainable going into the future. Thank you.
Wow. Can we give them a round of applause? Thank you, ladies. So it is clear the experts here are calling for a change in the way we are doing things. Because you are a scientist, you cannot box yourself in that box. You need to transform and reinvent yourself. Nobody's going to get money for you. You need to learn to be strategic, to be opportunistic. And there's a call out there also to, those key sectors to then look at the responses that they bring, especially at a local government level. Like Ms. Nongebo Slongwa is saying here, have a climate cap on. Perhaps just climate proof, everything that you are going to invest in the public service. It's a mammoth task, but the call is out there that as we continue recruiting people to cities, we need to be upskilling them with the necessary skills, the emerging skills that becoming necessary now, and maybe investing in other skills that don't currently exist in the city. So with those words, I would like to end this session, and thank you, ladies, very much. If you can all come up front here for a photo opportunity, and then I will hand over to the program director. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's been highly informative. isiZulu sithi onendlebe magezwe. I hope we have all learned and taken in all this information and adapted to want to change and do better. Thank you very much for this opportunity and your time. I would like to give 2 minutes to Usisuzama. See her approaching. It has been an honor. I'm still taking it in. Abosis Noella, they make it sound easy, but it's a huge burden. But if we embark on it together, It can't be an overnight thing. You guys have planted this seed. We, as the people, as the community, we need to water it and make sure this tree grows. And it's a very good tree. It's gonna secure our future. Sisizama, before ngivale, can I please give you the platform?
Siyabonga, Program Director, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Lihle Phewa. We just like to send umkhonso esicela ukuphathisa Sisi Siphumelele. This on behalf of the city is our appreciation to the office of the mayor, also to the office of the MEC, Durban, for their continued support to the city as we collectively pursue just and sustainable development agenda in the province. So siyabonga kakhulu ukuthi nikwazi ukuba khona. Thank you, Program Director.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We have come to the end of our program today. We'd like to thank everybody that participated. We'd like to thank our dignitaries that were joining us via webcast. We'd like to thank everyone that was present in the room. Thank you so much. It's still breathtaking. I hope that everybody has found their place in this climate action plan. Although we were not there when they conceptualized it, but it takes all of us to make it a reality and for it to happen. I thank you. My name is Jessica Kukungubane from Stele Sihle, and it's been an honor to be in your presence today. Thank you very much.